So today I want to show you just a quick preview of the historical trends. It's a new feature, fairly new. I think we rolled it out about a month ago on the Sync Match app. But what's really interesting about this, as now we have been 4 months collecting the data, finding out what tracks are getting placed on TV and categorizing and tagging them so we understand exactly where the trends are and where the hot spots are, so where the marketplace demand is. More specifically, how you can potentially fit into this industry. I'm going to show you just a couple of these charts. I won't show you the exhaustive list here on the app, but I wanted to show you why this is really valuable and what I would be doing with this data if I were new to sync licensing or if I were producing in maybe some of these styles that I'm going to share with you guys in today's video, okay? So the first one I want to show you here is pop style. So what you're seeing is basically the 4 different months that we've gathered data for, and each of these colored bars represents a different style of pop music. We have 80s pop, electro pop, just straight up pop, and pop rock, okay? Let me explain them. 80s pop, fairly standard. You're going to have that 80s sound, kind of like the old school drums and synth. Everybody kind of knows what that is. Not in high demand, as you can see. There's a couple of tracks that show up in our data, but if you are somebody interested in the 80s sound or 80s pop world, you know, I'm thinking about whatever, like a Madonna kind of sound or something like that, I just wouldn't spend your entire career in that direction. I would maybe do one album, kind of a retro cool throwback 80s pop vocal album with a library you want to work with, maybe one you find here on the app. But after that, move on to some other pop styles, because 80s does get placed, but it's not dominating. So if you want to play the numbers game, don't get too deep into the 80s world, okay? As you can see, the purple bar next up is electro pop. So this is going to be the kind of pop music that has a little bit more of an EDM flavor to it. It can be a little bit slow tempo, mid tempo, but more fast tempo as well. But it's a variety of different styles. But basically, you can think of any pop song that has kind of like a 4 on the floor dancing feel to it, or maybe sidechain synths, kind of that pulsing sort of vibe to it, or a lot of arpeggiated synths. It's got an electronic EDM feel, but it isn't just straight up like trance music or something really, really repetitive. It's definitely more mainstream, and it feels accessible to the general public. This is huge in our database. If you do anything in the electro pop world, especially with vocals, a lot of this music you'll find in electro pop world does have vocals. As you can see, it's dominating our graph here. So definitely you can focus solely on electro pop music. You can do some amazing stuff in this business using and producing electro pop, okay? Next up is just plain old pop. What pop basically means is, think about top 40 tracks that are charting right now, you know, if there still are charts out there. But if you go to Billboard Top 40 and you hear the sort of Taylor Swifts or the Ed Sheerans of the world, and it's just straight ahead kind of pop music, and you know, it's almost always going to have vocals on it. It's always going to be catchy. There's going to be a hook. There's going to be you know, lyrics, that kind of a thing. But it can be a little bit more EDM leaning, or it can be a little bit more just minimal drums and hand claps, acoustic guitars even. It could have some electric guitars. So there's a variety of directions this goes. This is a very big kind of term, but basically it's very accessible and it's catchy, and it's usually, you know, the 4-chord formula kind of a thing. So this is definitely healthy as well in our numbers. Okay, so I know it's not as high up as the electro pop, but definitely pop music, things that sound like they could be a catchy hit song, are very, very much in demand in our industry. And then last up is pop rock. This has actually been climbing up a little bit in the last couple of months, as you can see, the green bar. So pop rock usually is going to be those tracks that are still pop friendly, but have distorted guitars essentially in them. They're going to be a little bit more kind of in the rock world. So for whatever it's worth, that's what we're seeing in the pop world. Let's move down to acoustic styles. We're just going to do 3 of these graphs in today's videos, guys, okay? So these are the acoustic styles that we're monitoring: bluegrass, country, and folk. As you can see, it's very clear with the white bar here. Folk is where the marketplace demand is, okay? If you can play an acoustic guitar, you know, pluck a banjo, play a mandolin, play an acoustic bass, you can do any of these acoustic instruments, especially if you can record them live, you're going to be in a very, very healthy position. Also, if you can sing or partner with a vocalist to throw on top of your folk music, even better. Most of the folk music, I've been listening to the tracks here on the app, and a lot of it, I'd say almost all of it, is male vocals actually. So I would highly encourage you, find, or yourself, if you've got a decent voice, sing, write some lyrics, put a hook, put something on top of your tracks to make them feel like they could be even a little bit pop friendly, like kind of like a Mumford and Sons sort of a feel. But really make sure that it's high quality, it's well recorded, and it's got a really good heartfelt and kind of authentic folk feel to it. So whatever that means to you, however you want to be inspired, maybe being inspired by the music you hear, go in that direction. Country, it shows up. There's a lot more actually than I thought there would be, but as you can see, it's not something that I would devote too much time to. Maybe an album, but I wouldn't devote a whole career to country music, okay? Same thing with bluegrass. It shows up, it's kind of hung in there essentially, but it's not sort of flying off the shelf over and over and over again. So it could be something that where if you could do folk, you could probably do bluegrass as well, and maybe country. But if you had to choose between these three, 75% of your time should be folk music, and maybe you split the other 25% between country and bluegrass. That could be one way to do it, okay? And then this will be the last one we check out. This is our vintage style. So for those of you that are making some more old school music, you're kind of into some stuff that feels a little bit kind of, maybe 30, 40, 50 years ago. Surprise, surprise, maybe not a surprise for those of you that have been, aware of these trends or using Sync Match. The green bar, funk, is dominating, and there is so much freaking funk music in the data. I hear it. I'm kind of sick of funk music at this point because there's just every time we have these data updates and I'm listening to the tracks, just to wrap my head around all this music, funk is it's all over the place. It's a very, very dominant style of music. So if you can create legitimate, great sounding, I would say authentically 70s sounding. If it feels like it could have been a track that was really hot in the 70s, you'd be in a really, really strong position. So that very authentic throwback feel. There is also some modern kind of production elements that I've heard included in some of these funk tracks, but definitely, the feel's got to be there, the kind of the rhythm, the swing of it, the attitude. As long as that's all feeling exactly like locked in, you'd be in a really strong position. Next up, you can see that soul is kind of hanging in there. It took a little dip and then it's come back up a little bit. So soul is obviously there, a little bit more of that kind of like 50s, 60s sort of a soul vibe. There's a variety of different ways actually that you can go in that direction. But soul, I would say almost all these tracks have vocals. The funk ones, I'd say a few of them do, but it doesn't seem like it's the majority of them. So if you're going to do soul, you got to have that great, amazing vocalist on it. It could be male or female. Funk, you can do the same thing, but you don't have to necessarily come to the table with vocals for funk if you want to kind of fit in with the marketplace demand. So reggae, believe it or not, showed up in the data. Not a lot. Wouldn't recommend it. I mean, unless you really do amazing reggae music for some reason, okay, maybe do a couple of albums, but definitely something I wouldn't focus on. Disco, just stay away from it. I mean, I think we usually find one, maybe two tracks per month in all of the data that we're collecting. I would not go towards disco. It's not a very profitable genre. It's not getting placed a lot on TV. Blues is in there for sure, but again, just not one of the higher demand ones. So I just wouldn't spend tons and tons of time making blues style of music, okay? So anyways, we have a lot more. We've got rock and whatever, all kinds of different genres and classifications that we have here on the app. But what's really cool about this now is that we've kind of broken out the two tabs. We used to have tracks and trends all in once, but now we've broken them out. So when you guys are on the track section now what you're just going to see, you can get your quick insights to get quick information, but now you'll actually just see the top placed tracks, right? The ones that got placed the most, the ones that got placed on the most number of shows, which ones got the longest placements, all that good stuff. And now the trends are on their own tab. So you actually find out, well, you guys are getting a sneak peek now of where things are headed and which genres are getting placed the most, which moods are getting placed the most, et cetera, et cetera. So what I wanted to do by breaking those two tabs apart is to let you not be so overwhelmed by getting all this data in one tab, but be able to basically kind of like separate them. And I think we're going to even go further in detail with each one of those, with showing you more information on the tracks and more information on the trends as I get more great feedback and ideas and suggestions from those of you that are using the app. And as we start collecting more and more data, which yes, I am in the process now of expanding our data to finally, hopefully, I'll make an announcement when it's official, but go overseas to actually get some data from channels outside of the United States. So we're not just seeing our little marketplace here. I mean, the United States is one of the dominant ones, but looking outwards into other marketplaces so we get a better, more full 360 view, hopefully, of what's happening in the industry. So let me know if you guys have some thoughts, insights, concerns about what I shared on this video and these genres. And if you have any questions about your particular approach, post it below. I'll be happy to help.